That went pretty smoothly for you in the end, up a 6-0 win, your biggest win of the season.
Yeah, you were right. In the end, it went pretty smoothly. It was really hard work because they make you hard work, and we had to find a little bit into the game. We had to calm down our possession because it's really tricky if you play against a man-marking side. We are humans, and you tend to feel pressure where no pressure is. The game becomes hectic. And when the game is hectic, they are really good. So, and in our own defending, we had kind of man-marking situations as well, what we never do, and that gave them a little bit of space. We were, I think, lucky in the moment. Not lucky because it was offside, but that showed the goal they scored when it was offside. That showed exactly what they are capable to do. And so we had to be fully concentrated, and we were. And in the end, it's a clear result and a wonderful night.
2 goals for Mo, 2 goals for Sadio, and 2 goals for your centre backs.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, what can I say? There might be some people out there, and I think penalties should not count them or whatever. To be honest, when you have a penalty, you want 100% the right person on the spot to put it away. That's what Mo did, and on top of that, he played a really good game. It was incredibly difficult to defend for them. Sadio's game was one of his best, probably, the way he interpreted the role, playing the centre, how he got away from his opponent, opened up for us gaps with that, and all this kind of thing. It was absolutely insane. And the 2 centre halves are not the same goals. You would expect a centre half goal. It's a set piece. Obviously, Joel. So it was, I think it was the away game, if I'm right, where he had a similar situation where he only set it up, passed the ball to Trent, and then Mo could finish it off. This time he was in that spot. So how is that? In the end, top game, top for the people, obviously really in a really good shape, and yeah, wonderful night at Anfield.
Are you quite happy to see Joe Matip strolling forward like that and tucking it away as a centre-back?
Now, in a game like this, you have to. There's a space. You can count the players. So 2 centre-halves are kind of responsible for 1 striker, and all the rest is man-marked. So that means when you pass calm enough, the gap opens up. Even Wirtz had today's situations where he stepped properly in, and from there you have then to pass a smart ball. So, yeah, I think they really had good spells, Leeds, but in the end I think it's really difficult to play the way they play for 90 minutes in a game against an opponent like us, because there's one moment when we get away and then we are in front of the goal, and that's what the boys used tonight pretty well.
Some good minutes in the midfielders who came back into the team tonight. You might have a bit of a task on your hands picking the team for Sunday.
Oh, I didn't think yet about that, but I have these really luxury problems already for a while, and we have to use the power we can bring from there. So obviously the midfield is the machine room of a football team, and more often than not you need their really fresh legs, and we will see what we decide for Sunday, but for tonight I think it was the right choice.
It looks as though it's going to be an exciting title run-in for all of us now. Are you excited by it yourself now that you're on the coattails of Man City?
I'm not excited, but I think it's normal that after a night like this, the people will get carried away a little bit. That's completely fine. But there's already Sunday looming around the corner, and we have to be 100% ready for that and all the rest. And then we play Cup again, and so then the league is with 10 days no league game. I think City is probably playing in that time a league game for sure. So it's how it is. We have to win our football games. If you do that, we will be around. If you don't do that, there's no title race. But if you do it, then maybe.
Well done tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Mounting for Leeds, but more headlines for Liverpool. For Mo Salah, 19 goals this season, 10 assists. He's quite clearly well ahead in the most goal involvements, and a landmark night for Virgil van Dijk, incredibly as well. Since he signed for Liverpool, he's now played 59 Premier League games at Anfield. He's won 51 of them, and he does not know what it's like to lose a Premier League game at Anfield with a win percentage of over 86%. He's equalled a Premier League record there set by Lee Sharp back in the Manchester United days. They are chasing, but what about the momentum Liverpool have got at the moment?
Well, again, it's an easy one because these 2 teams have been going head to head now for the last couple of years, and they're by far the best 2 teams in the Premier League, if not the world at the moment. Yeah. But I think chasing for me, he's got that incentive with Klopp. I mean, Klopp shows a lot of passion, and we saw his celebration with the thing. It does mean everything. They know that they're in it. They never thought they were ever out of it. I mean, we knew that City had that chance to lose because they had that bit of a break in it. But now they're going, we have to win. And he just drives them forward. But again, as a Liverpool player, that stat there about Van Dijk, that stat there about Mo Salah, Sane, now Diaz coming in, Jota. If I'm a midfielder, I'd be sitting there going, this is brilliant. I'd be playing every day. I'd not worry about once a week. I'd be going, just give me the games. Because we're not losing, especially at home. And even when they're away. And the one thing that I've found with Liverpool is that they're comfortable now, even at 1-0. People nowadays get scared at 1-0 at 80 minutes, 85 minutes. People put the pressure. Liverpool seem to just take the sting out of the game now, and they're comfortable to say, well, hang on a sec, we're happy to win 1-0. You just come out us. And when they do step out, that's when they pounce and they score.
I think they've got two ways of playing now. I think Man City always had the edge where they could counter-attack 100 mile an hour with the best of them, but they could also keep the ball and rest on the football. I think Liverpool do that now. We're certainly with Thiago when he's back in that midfield. Tonight, it wasn't about turning it into a basketball match like we saw at the weekend with Man United. They want it to be a chaos game, Leeds United and Bielsa, but they didn't allow it. What was it, 65% possession tonight, kept the ball off them. They were never in the football match, and Thiago controlled the tempo.
So, on the weekend of the 9th or 10th of April, Liverpool go to the Etihad. Let's look at what is ahead before then. Manchester City will play next, of course, at Goodison on Saturday because Liverpool are at Wembley on Sunday in the League Cup final against Chelsea. City then have a Manchester derby, then go to Palace, home to Brighton, away at Burnley. Liverpool resume their Premier League campaign at home to West Ham. They go to Brighton. They also have to go to Arsenal. They might have to play Manchester United. The might is because if they beat Norwich in the FA Cup, that will be an FA Cup quarter-final instead. Then they are at home to Watford. Do you see any bumps in the road? Do you see, Tim, them being as close as 3 points by the time they meet at the Etihad on that weekend?
No, I see it as 3 points. I think the only team who could affect you, who had the quality to be able to do it to both teams, because they both got to play Man United. I think Man United had the quality to beat both of these sides on their day, on a one-off game. Do I see it happening? No. But I think they could have a big say in this title race, Man United.
Do you see it being as close going to the Etihad?
Yeah, I see it going head-to-head the whole way, and that game at the Etihad is going to be, I think, maybe the title decider. But I do look at that, and the only difference I see there is the next 4 games that Liverpool are playing are teams that want to play. We're not seeing teams that really are in a scrap. I mean, I suppose when you look at City as well, they all still want to play. The only one I can see is Burnley, where they're going to be just rough, Teddy, and they're going to fight. City are going to have to fight that game to win that. Whereas everyone else at Liverpool playing, they want to play, and Liverpool can use that pressing style.
Well, look, Jurgen Klopp is very steady in his post-match interview, but we might just have a title race on our hands. What kind of form are Liverpool in going into that? Because although there were 6 goals, that wasn't their best performance of the season.
No, it wasn't. And what you'd have to say about them is that they were ruthless. And I think they got the goals at the right time early on, kind of killed Leeds off in some respects. But no, they're playing really well. As you said, it wasn't their best performance. But I think what Jurgen Klopp's got now with the squad that he's assembled is real depth. A lot of people question them, certainly in attacking areas, or what if something happens to Mane or Salah. All of a sudden, we've got Diaz coming in, playing really, really well. Obviously, Harvey Elliott's come back. Diogo Jota's been fantastic, the form that he showed. And even defensively as well, we look at Van Dijk. They had horrible injuries when Van Dijk was out. They had 3 centre-halves, I think, out at one time. But you look now, Konate's there, Matip's playing really well. Van Dijk, they've got strength and depth all over the team. But when you look at them going forward now, the title race is back on. They're playing really, really well. They're putting teams to the sword, scoring goals at will. And you'd have to say now they've got the real momentum pushing into this final stage of the season. And anyone who kind of wrote off the title race a couple of months back is eating their words, because Liverpool aren't letting this go.
Yeah, squad depth is going to be crucial here, because both Manchester City and Liverpool maybe will pick up or have had a couple of short-term injuries, but really they've got 2 very, very strong squads going into this late stage of the season.
Yeah, and I think, look, I was one of the ones that wrote Liverpool off. Man City had run away with the title, the form they were in. I found it hard for anyone to catch them. I didn't think you'd see City dropping points. Liverpool team, I'm looking at their midfield, it's fantastic. And the chances now they're creating... Liverpool team, I'm looking at their midfield, it's fantastic. And the chances now they're creating, I mean, look, it's a perfect game for Liverpool to get goals against Leeds in terms of the way they play. But yeah, certainly in terms of the balance of the two squads, it might go to the end, which I don't think many of us thought.
Yeah, Darren mentioned Harvey Elliott there. He wasn't even in the squad.
The balance of the two squads, it might go to the end, which I don't think many of us thought.
Yeah, Darren mentioned Harvey Elliott there. He wasn't even in the squad. Neither was Joe Gomez for the game last night, which just shows, not that they've done anything wrong, but that there is depth. They can keep things fresh with a cup final coming up at the weekend.
It's interesting because at the start of the season, lots of people said if you look at the City squad and the bench, it was so much stronger than Liverpool's. And lots of people said if you look at the City squad and the bench, it was so much stronger than Liverpool's, and Liverpool needed to invest more in the transfer window, etc., etc. But I think the way that Liverpool have done it, just very slowly at their own pace, has really helped them come into this stage of the season. The timing of Diaz's introduction has been key because it's really injected a little bit of momentum into that forward line. When Diaz has played, he's looked as though he's been at Liverpool all his life. When Diaz has played, he's looked as though he's been at Liverpool all his life. Harvey Elliott for it too. For us in the newspapers, this is outstanding because it means there is investment, huge investment in every single match day now between now and the end of the season. This is like a heavyweight title fight. This is like two horses turning into the home straight with 3 furlongs left to run, and it's between them. It's a fabulous climax to the season, the one we wanted really, because it's not just a title race. This could be one of the all-time great title races between two exceptional sides, two squads of outstanding talent, two of the greatest managers in the Premier League era. It's set up in so many different ways for us to enjoy the final 3 months of the season.
So they play each other at the beginning of April, Liverpool and Manchester City, at the Etihad. And the fixtures, there's not really too much between them when you look at what they've both got to play. Manchester United, which obviously is a huge game for both Manchester City and for Liverpool. But there's not that much in the difference between the two sets of fixtures, is there?
There's not. But you look at City's, for instance, Everton, United and Palace. OK, yeah, the Man United game's going to be difficult. But Liverpool's next 4, you'd have to say, are tricky. Now, I'd expect them to beat West Ham because I think West Ham maybe are running out of gas. Brighton away. We know Brighton at home are not great at all, can't win a game. Arsenal fixture, Man United. So I think Liverpool's next 4 will set it up nicely going into the Watford and the City game. But these are two teams that have been there and done it before where they've had to go toe-to-toe. Well, I think it was 98, 97 points a couple of years back where they've had to keep going, keep winning games. I think they both won their last 12 consecutive games in a row. And I think we might see something like that happen again this season. But the game when they play each other is going to be massive. But as I said, Liverpool's, I think they are similar, but Liverpool's next 4 fixtures, there are a few tricky fixtures in there, like the Arsenal game.
I slightly disagree with you in that. I mean, we're agreed on West Ham running out of gas. I think they're done now. But I think Liverpool will have learned a lot from the Anfield game between the two sides because they were very strong. They came from behind. They took away a point from the game. They looked as though they could have won it in the end. So I don't think they'll take them lightly. And I think I just wonder about who are the other teams in
Arsenal and United.
Arsenal and United. Well, their record against United is very good. The United game might be the one because very often they're two clubs that show each other too much respect and it often ends up as a draw. But I think...
And of course, Man United will be stinging from the 5-0 earlier in the season.
Indeed. And I think as far as United are concerned, that they can always produce a big performance against a top team, randomly so. But I think Liverpool have got so much within their armoury right now to be able to deal with all of those problems. And like you've been saying, you've been going through the forward line, the permutations in that forward line, the movement against the Manchester United side who can't retain their concentration for 90 minutes, I think will enable Liverpool, even if it's by the odd goal, to come out on top. I still do think this goes all the way to April when they meet each other at the Etihad. It could be one of the all-time great Premier League showdowns.
Although Man United is kingmakers when there isn't the option for them to say neither, please. It's going to be really interesting with those two games coming thick and fast. The psychology of this title race is going to be interesting as well, with City leading from the front for so long and Liverpool looks like they're going to be playing catch-up.
Yeah, but they've done it, 2 seasons ago now, so it went neck and neck, didn't they, all the way. definitely plays a massive part. I think that the mental side of the game is something that we, don't talk about often enough. But I think these two squads are so used to competing, they're so used to winning, and the players within those environments are so used to that. So it becomes more natural to them, and the way they deal with pressure, they deal with it a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, look, as you say, it's neck and neck all the way. I don't know what's gonna. I don't know. Look. I think Liverpool squad now, in terms of the balance that they have, I think the back solid. I think the front three, the fluidity that they can bring in. The midfield now is what excites me about them, especially having Thiago back. And I think that was the bit that, you question, have they got, high calibre of players in their midfield? And we question, look, Henderson's a great player, but is he the player that's going to be that match winner in tight games? And I feel like they've now got a great balance in their midfield, and I think that's the difference with Liverpool now.
When you look at Liverpool as well, one thing you have to commend them on again is the recruitment. I mean, he seems to get it right every single time. When you look at their last few transfers, the only one you'd probably say maybe hasn't quite hit the heights is Naby Keita. He'd be the only one. But the likes of Jota, no one can sit here and say that when they spent the 40 million on him, they were like, he's going to do that, because I certainly didn't see that. And the fact that he came in and ousted Firmino, because we always thought he was Salah, Mane, Firmino, and that was it. You had no chance of breaking in. He came in there and did that. Now they've got Luis Diaz as well, who's going in there. He is playing fantastically well. So one thing about Liverpool, which I think they've been better at than Manchester City, is recruitment. They don't just throw their money around and think, right, we hope it works. They do their due diligence on the player, and every time they bring a player in, they make them better. And it's almost like, as well, it's seamless. Like you take someone out, like Jota or Mane, you put someone in and they know their role to a T. So again, that comes down to great management and great recruitment from Jurgen Klopp and his team.
But you talk about the psychology of a sub, like the stuff that goes on in your head when you're not playing, and how you can keep yourself involved. And when you come in and you get those chances or those moments, that's what's so with Man City and Liverpool, that's what's so exceptional about both of those teams. The way the mentality of the players and how they keep themselves focused in moments that are really difficult. They could be out of the squad for 4 or 5 games, and to still be able to come in and perform at the levels that they need you to perform to get the that's up there.
Yeah,
that's something
that's such
those
a key.
two squads are very good at.
It's so important, because I think these are two managers that don't just coach teams, they coach squads. And when they bring players in, the recruitment's key in that way. We know Julian Ward's going to take over from Michael Edwards at Liverpool, and what they do is they don't just find technically gifted players, but they find men who are able to buy into what the club want to do, so that if they're on the bench for any length of time, their attitude is so good that when they come in, they're able to do their jobs. They're not moaning, they're not poisoning the dressing room. The interesting thing about Liverpool's recruitment is that, yes, okay, they spent 30-odd million pounds on Jota, similar with Mane, but if you look at Andy Robertson, £8 million. Tsimikas, £3.5–4 million. Some of the players that they've brought in, they've not spent huge amounts of money on, but they've really done their due diligence to kind of just see, do these guys fit in with what we're trying to do at the football club? And very often they do. I don't want to decry City's recruitment, because, I mean, Julian Alvarez is 21, he's the reigning South American Player of the Year. He's going to come in when everyone was suggesting they were going to go big for Haaland or throw money at Mbappe, or even go get back for Harry Kane. They've gone and plucked this guy. He's only 21. He could score goals for them for the next 10 years. And Savinho as well, the other 17-year-old player who's been a first teamer for quite some time in South America. They're going to send him on loan so that he can get some experience, and he'll come back next season. And they're thinking outside the box with their recruitment, and that's very good too. But it goes back to what I was saying before. These are two clubs that are set up to be big rivals for the next 5 years. I want to give you more analogies, but I'll stick with one.
but no, the point you made at the beginning there about every game being important between now and the end of the season is such an interesting one. When you talk about Liverpool and their recruitment, not just in terms of the style of play, but in terms of the attitude and the personality they come back. And it comes back to what Farah was saying as well, which is the psychology of the two squads, because it feels as though they will deal with that pressure in very different ways. It's almost as though Liverpool embrace it and are energised by it, whereas Manchester City are ice cold. They're kind of like and not just because they're red and pale blue, but it's they're kind of like the fire and ice, aren't they, of football?
Yeah, because you look at the two managers, and I think that is where it comes from, because you look at Guardiola. Now, we know we've seen him before lose his rag a little bit, understandably. But more than not, he's just, as you said, calm. Whereas Jurgen Klopp, as you saw after they've just beaten Leeds 6-0, he's on the pitch, he's fist pumping, he's doing everything.
He calmed down by the post-match interview and he just gathered himself.
Do you think that's a part of that? Like you look at in terms of the fans, the Man City fans and then the Liverpool fans, and like I feel like the energy Klopp's brought is is what Liverpool fans need. That's them, isn't it? That's the culture that the club's had over the years. Like you go to Anfield and you can't even hear yourself breathe. So I think that he's bought into what Liverpool is, and so his character is perfect for Liverpool. And City fans are quite quiet, aren't they? They're quite calm, and that's Pep. So it's quite it's funny
it's
that
true. I remember Roy
quite,
Hodgson when he was at the club and he was about to play an opponent, I can't remember, Premier League opponent, and he was really sort of playing down Liverpool's chances and talking up the other club and saying, "Look, we've got to be respectful of this club."
Was it Burnley?
I can't remember.
And he said it's always a difficult team to play.
That's right.
Yeah,
and the Liverpool fans were like, hang on a minute, we're Liverpool. Yeah. Don't be bringing that to us. Don't be saying we should be winning games like this. And they want the bar to be set high. They want Jurgen Klopp to be talking about, to buying into the intensity and the pressure that surrounds the club, because over the last, 4 or 5 decades, they have established themselves as a superpower in this country. So they don't want to be aiming low, aiming for 4th place, talking up opponents. They want to be in the thick of the fight, throwing punches, and that's exactly what they're doing now.
The other thing on last night's performance against Leeds is the 6 goals, which is always nice, but in this title race could be crucial because it's taken them ahead of Manchester City again on goal difference. They were ahead, they slipped back, and now they're in front again. All these kind of tiny margins are going to be huge at the end of the season, potentially.
It will do, because as you said there, scoring the 6, the goal difference is going to be massive, because as I said, these 2 teams, it's fine margins. When you've got two teams that are so similar in attributes and trying to get the points, how good they are, these things matter, and we've seen it already. As we said, 1 point a couple of seasons ago where they keep getting toe-to-toe. Manchester City ended up winning, but that's what I like about this Liverpool side as well, because they are ruthless, they're relentless. They'll score 1, they'll score 2, they'll keep racking up a score. The only time I've seen them take their foot off the gas a little bit, which disappointed me as such, was against Manchester United, because if they'd have really gone for it, they could have gone on and on and on, but they didn't. But I think that comes from Jurgen Klopp.
Put that into context.
No, it was 5. But it was 5 relatively early with the game. But it almost felt like the last 15 minutes they went.
About trying to for the players not to pick up injuries late on in that game.
Exactly. But if they'd have kept their foot down, that could have been 6-7. Yeah. But again, I think that's what this Liverpool club. You got people like Salah, Jota, Mane. These guys want the golden boots. They want to score as many as they can, and I think that feeds from the manager, from the atmosphere, from the crowd onto the pitch. And I think with Liverpool Football Club, that's one thing I'd say about Liverpool, is that they are ruthless and they're relentless and they'll keep going and going. So this won't be the last time they score 6 this season. They can do that over and over again because the calibre of player they got and the mentality that goes through that football club.
Yeah, the top 3 Premier League strikers this season all play for Liverpool. You've got Salah in there, Jota and Mane.
It's crazy. The competition's crazy. I mean, in terms of the goal, look, every time you watch Liverpool City, you don't know where the goals are coming from. In terms of the front line, you're trying to predict it. I mean, Liverpool, they have a more regular front line now, and Firmino and Jota, but Jota's keeping Firmino out, and who would ever have thought that in terms of the style that they play with Mane and Salah on the other side. But in both of those teams, I just think the front lines are so unpredictable, but can get goals. Whoever's playing, they'll get you goals. And it's frightening to think the competition and the way that they can still be competitive but unselfish, because you're no Benny, you're a striker. You can be selfish. You want your goal in a game. But they seem to have found a way of being able to perform and even and be unselfish in those moments where strikers' mentality is to be selfish. And I think that's what's so good about it.
Yeah, do you think it's because they wouldn't necessarily describe themselves as strikers? Any of the players that are sort of scoring goals for Manchester City or scoring goals for Liverpool, they're not really, maybe Firmino the closest of all of them?
Yeah, they're now forwards.
Foden sort of plays in that role,
but not
isn't
exactly.
a forward. Yeah,
they're attackers, they're forwards. I think the word striker is almost becoming redundant. Firmino's probably the closest thing, but even him, I wouldn't look at him as an out-and-out number 9. He's more another number 10, as you said there. But I think with the front 3 that they've got, Mane, Salah and Jota, if you take them for example, at times they can be a little bit selfish. We've seen that, but it's almost like they'll play together, they'll work together, combine really, really well, but they'll almost kind of leave each other to it, if that makes sense. So Mane might not get the ball from Salah, but he'll be like, it's not a problem, because I know at some stage I'm going to have my opportunity. And I think that's what makes them so unique as a front 3, because they can be selfish. There's times where you've seen arguments on the pitch where they're waving their arms at each other, but in any given moment, one little combination bangs in the back of the net. Even for, I'm sure we're going to see the goals in a bit. I think
we'll see them now if you want. Run, BT.
One of them, which you'll see, the Mane penalty. The ball from Salah is absolutely exceptional. Comes inside and rolls it, and I think